Well, I think in terms of the pension freedoms, that's very positive for all people, really. It's provided a lot of flexibility and it's moved away from the annuity being the default option. I think in terms of the changes in relation to lifetime allowance and annual allowance, I think the losers there really are the higher earners, because that will have had an effect that they will benefit much less from the higher rates of tax relief, simply because they can't put as much into pension saving as they might have done previously. And going forwards, I think we didn't really see the changes that we expected in the budget, but I think again there's a clear intention, it would seem, that the government would wish to further restrict pension tax relief, and that does seem to be aimed mainly at higher and additional rate taxpayers. Well, I think the government looked very closely at the overall cost of tax relief on pensions, and they intended to introduce some changes. What they said was that they felt that now wasn't the right time to make those changes, so they could well do so in the future. But I think really what they intended to do was cut the cost of tax relief, so we may well see that introduced at some point relatively soon.
And what are your predictions for the coming year? What do you think are going to be introduced?
I think it's a bit too soon to tell. There's still very much an appetite from the government to cut the cost of tax relief further, so I would expect that if we do see changes, they will be related to that, and the main target of the government would seem to be tax relief for higher and additional rate taxpayers. George Osborne did introduce the concept of pension ISAs when he released the consultation document, so that is certainly one area that the government will be considering very strongly, and it does seem to be the favoured method for George Osborne, certainly, and I think that's been echoed by the introduction of the lifetime ISA, which shares many of the features of the proposed pension ISA that he initially suggested.
So what can investors do, or people that are thinking about the idea?
Well, I think certainly, again, you would probably focus on the investors who do qualify for higher rate tax relief currently. Clearly there may be some changes in that area, so the message to those people would be to make use of those higher rates of relief whilst they're still available. For people at the younger end, obviously there is now the lifetime ISA, which, whilst it's not a direct replacement for pensions, it's certainly another option for them. But I think what they'll have to do is think clearly about their current pension options, and probably the best advice is to ensure that they don't shoot themselves in the foot by opting out of existing arrangements in favour of the lifetime ISA, but see it as potentially as an additional option of saving as well as their existing pension savings.